Greetings, amazing human beings. Welcome back to another episode of the Bounce Back Ability Podcast. Bounce back ability is defined as the ability to be successful again after a period of failure, meaning life kicks your butt. And what are you going to do next, right? Bounce back ability is the ability to get back up, to get back on your feet, to get back in the game, to become successful even after you suffered losses, right? Even after life has taken from you, right? So whatever you're going through, whatever you've experienced, we are here to share with you some of the stories, some of our own tests, trials, and challenges to encourage you that it's not over, right? It's not over. As long as you're here, as long as you have breath in your body, you can win, you can get back in the game, and you can become a higher expression of yourself. So that's what we're talking about today. I'm excited. We have Stacey in the building. I'm going to have her introduce herself. I would not be able to do it in a manner that is deserving. So I'm going to have Stacey jump in, introduce herself, and we're going to dive right in. Stacey,
All
welcome,
right.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
first, I just want to thank you for having me. Thank you for being the coach that you are because I don't know if you know this, but I was following someone else and saw you on that person's page and decided, okay, I need to connect with this man right here because what you do is palpable, okay? And another thing, you're authentic, and I rock with that. So I said, let me start seeing what he's talking about, and I watch your lives and whatnot. And unless I'm really into something that I can't stop, I tune in every time because that's
Thank
how
you.
good you are. Yeah, and I've shared it with other people too. So
I
yeah, so
appreciate that. Social
of
media
course,
working for good. See, people demonize
right.
social media. Social media doing great things. Great things. All right,
That's
I'm sorry.
right.
Thank you
That's
so much. Continue.
you're welcome. So I'm Stacey Sharp, and I created a nonprofit organization called War Keys, and War Keys stands for Where All Responsible Keep Every Youth Safe.
Love
Okay,
it.
and
Love it.
that was born out of me witnessing students in the education system for over 20 years now and the impediments that they have, and realizing that a lot of people just don't have the equipment to help them get to the next level. You know, we have people who either honestly don't seem to care, we
Hmm.
have people who care and don't know what to do, and then we have people who, in my opinion,
Hmm.
they coddle and try to rescue students instead of, as my mom would say, teach them how to fish. Don't keep giving them fish. Teach them how to fish.
Hmm.
So I try to give students those tools for themselves because as a child, that's something I needed someone to do, but by the grace of God,
I
you
love it.
know.
I love it. I love how you broke that down. And I love that you focus on what the students need to live. Like you said, teach them to fish, right? Not just getting them through the moment. That matters as well. But what you're talking about, from what I hear, is planting the seeds and providing them the tools they need to become successful so that they can make it when I'm not in the room with them, so that they're equipped and they have what they need. So I get it. You
There,
speaking my language for sure, for sure, for sure. So you said 20 plus years in the education system. Teacher, administrator, what was your role in the education system?
Dean, Dean, I deal with behavior.
Ah,
And honestly, it came from working with students. So if I go back,
mhm,
uh, okay, so how this started is I was always an honor roll student. I was
okay,
that student in the class that I would help the teacher. I wouldn't cause you any problems, never had discipline issues, whatever, and got decent grades. Seventh grade, even though through the years, me and my sister and brother had been back and forth to my grandmother's house, when I turned 12, everything changed. So, what I like to say is when trauma occurs, you mark time. And that's how, people are able to recall things so vividly
mhm,
because at that time, it's like everything stops. And then all of a sudden, you can remember exactly where you were. You can remember how
exactly.
something looked, who was there, who was not there,
Hmm.
all of that.
So
And so,
real quick, real quick,
Mhm.
because I speak that language back and forth to my grandmother's house. Some people
Okay.
may think you're just visiting grandma. Can you
Right.
explain to the people who may not speak that language what you're referring to?
Okay. So my mother, so she was always there,
Hmm.
but she would send us to live with our grandmother off and on. And when you're young, honestly, you don't really know why.
Right.
But my mother was sick with things that some of it I probably don't know, but I know for sure she had gallstones at one point. And back
Hmm.
then the surgery was kind of serious.
Got you.
They
Got you.
yeah. And so at that time she would send us there so she could go through her go through. And we would go with our grandmother. I love my grandmother, but
Are you
it's
changing
not like
schools? Does this cause you to change
no,
schools? Okay.
no,
Okay.
because we're in the same neighborhood.
Okay. Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
but
Okay.
but that yeah, but I'm glad you said that because for some students that's an issue. And even and what and actually I'm glad for me, I'm glad you pointed that out. Honestly, even being in the same neighborhood and in the same schools, it
Hmm.
still can cause some trauma because it's the lack of stability. That lack of
Absolutely.
stability. And
Got
again,
you.
it's not about disrespecting my mother. And it took
Hmm.
me years. I was an adult when I finally gave myself permission, or maybe God freed me, but I
Hmm.
knew it's okay to speak my experience without feeling like I'm betraying somebody else.
Absolutely.
And yeah,
So
so my
so
mom and
take us to
dad,
your 12, your marking time. This is a
okay,
moment for you. Take us
okay,
to the experience as much as you can share, and then I want to go into that a bit.
okay. So at 12, my mom found out she had cancer. And she had been working at Great Lakes for I guess since I was very little. And then all of a sudden she lost her job. And the reason was because there was asbestos in there, so they fired a lot of people.
Oh,
Yeah, but finally she got a small lawsuit, moved into a one-bedroom apartment. It's me, her, and my sister. And then she was pregnant with my brother. So literally all four of us are in one bed, but we're just happy to be with our mother. And so my
gotcha.
mom, with the cancer came a bunch of things. So one, she had reconstructive surgery,
Hmm.
but it burst inside of her. So I
Oh,
literally had to clean blood and things from my mother, and I don't even really know what's going on. So you can imagine how I am at school now. I started withdrawing, my grades went down, and I felt invisible. I think I felt nobody was noticing that. So
man.
now I'm in high school and I'm starting to get E's and D's, still A, B, C here and there, but I'm just starting to feel invisible and I'm getting overwhelmed
So
by
let
age 6. Go
before
ahead.
you jump forward, right? Because I'm sure I felt invisible, connected with some. Is going to connect with people, right? Th-
Mhm.
as someone who lived it, experienced it, and works with young people who I'm
Okay.
sure are experiencing that,
Mhm.
what does that mean to an 12 middle school years? Those are like the most I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
Right.
How does how does a young lady how did that impact you? What changed what how do I want to ask it? Okay, how did it change how you viewed yourself? How do you feel invisible? And then how did you act out invisible, if that makes sense?
Okay, no, it makes sense. So for me, already being a shy, quiet girl, I
Okay.
think I just withdrew more. My sister was the opposite. She acted out. My
Okay.
sister, you could see the anger in her. But what people didn't know, because I smile a lot, I had it too. But
Hmm.
it imploded. Hers exploded. You
I
know,
love how you just put
yeah,
that. Yes.
yeah. So
Man, I love
everything
how
was
you put that.
inside.
Okay. So you just
Thank
carried it
you. So
all. You just carried it and
I
carried
carried,
it.
I
And
carried it.
you're the oldest. So you
Hmm.
essentially mom is sick. So now you become the caregiver. Now your sister's acting out. Did you feel
Hmm.
a sense of responsibility for your siblings and even for your mom? How did you feel? Did you feel like I have to like what did you feel?
Well, it wasn't even just feeling a sense of it. It was actually put on me, period. When my mother brought me there, my brother's father, because he has a different father from me and my
Hmm.
sister, we have the same father.
Hmm.
But my father's always been around for him. But
Okay.
he lived across the street, so my mom would be over there, and sometimes a week at a time. So I'm there
Goodness.
taking care of them. I would have to walk my brother to the babysitter and make sure my sister got to school and get myself to school, come home, feed everybody, make sure everybody's okay. But remember, my mom had cancer and then
Right.
she was addicted to pills and birthed my brother. So my brother is having issues that I don't even know where that's coming from.
Right.
And I'm dealing with that as a
Oh my
child.
goodness. That's a lot of weight on your shoulders. A lot of weight on your shoulders. So you were transitioning to high school. So you were busy. You were busy. You were carrying it. You were holding it. Now you transition. Now you're in high school. How does
Mhm.
it show up? How is your behavior? Did you ever explode? Like how did you manage it into high
Oh,
school?
so first, I'm going to share one more piece. My
Mhm.
mother eventually, from the pills, it became drugs. Now, but let me tell you, you know, we listen to our parents. They tell us what to do. We do. We don't ask questions, right?
Mhm.
My mom would tell me, I got $10. Take this down to this address. Ask for this person. Get that, bring it back. I'm like, okay, I do what she said. I go, I get it, I come back. I would notice a change in her, but don't know what that is. Keep it moving.
Right. Right.
Eventually, I'm curious. I open it up and I'm like, what is this? It's weird looking, whatever. Eventually, I figured out it was crack.
Mhm.
So I bought crack at 12, you
Mhm.
know. And so now, as you say, a developing young lady, I'm starting to get all the parts and pieces coming in, and
Mhm.
it's dope dealers looking at me. So
Mhm.
I'm already shy. I have this situation at home. I honestly, I felt terrible. So the way it showed up, I withdrew. My grades went down. I never lashed out at my mom or anybody. And honestly, I don't even know how that happened. I'm just going to say grace because I didn't do that,
Mhm.
but it impacted me. I was
Right.
hurting so bad and carried it because I didn't feel like I'm not, I don't know if it was my mother or just me or both, but
Mhm.
I couldn't tell her because one, I felt I would be disrespecting her. And two, it was like, even if I tell her, what is she going to do? Stop using crack?
Right.
I,
Right.
so I just dealt with it. You
Yeah.
know, as far as boys, I can say that that probably wasn't a good thing for a young lady because then you know guys are looking at you and looking at your body, and honestly, I don't want you to. I like boys, but I'm like, I don't want you looking at me like that because
Right.
I'm feeling all these other emotions, and then you got that. It shouldn't have to come from a boy to tell you that, oh, you fly or you looking good. Nah, that
Right.
shouldn't, especially when you're already in that state of mind.
So
So that's what.
let me ask you a question because you just made a good point and you said it that attention, right?
Mhm,
That interest that shouldn't come that's not that shouldn't be the primary source of that energy, right?
mhm.
Now, were you aware of this then? Like were you aware that you know what I mean? Or was it your feeling of responsibility, perhaps guilt, confusion, poor self-esteem and self-image? Did you feel unworthy of the attention? Or did you consciously know that this I need this from another source? Like what do you know what I mean? Like what do you think it
I
was? Obviously it was a minute ago. What do you think it was?
I would say I did not consciously know
Hmm.
until probably in my 20s. But
Ah, okay.
I will say though that it felt uncomfortable the
Okay.
whole time. It did feel uncomfortable unless it was a boy I liked, and
Hmm.
you know you're just, you know, like Stacey, you looking cute or whatever. But I'm talking about my body and things like that. I mean
Yeah.
that's already uncomfortable for a female. But see, if you have someone telling you something else, meaning your parents,
Right.
then you can kind of have something to combat that with. But I didn't have that,
Got you.
you know.
Got you.
So
So
yeah, I
so
thought about that for years, Reese.
yeah, I'm
That could have
like,
been
yeah,
that
that
could have
could
been
have
bad.
That could, yes. That's why I was like, wow, did you like did you know that? Like was God's hand on your shoulder telling you that? Or was it how did it play out? Now,
Right.
what you shared, I love your transparency and your candor, right? So I'm gonna meet you there. Very
Okay.
similar situation, right? Except the only child, right? And so I was my mom's only child. And when crack first came out, she was one
Mm-hmm.
of the first ones who crashed and burned. And
Mm,
so a lot of the stuff you're talking about, I'm just like,
mhm,
wow, that's me. When you talked about those markers, those
uh-huh.
points in your life that you remember, right now, I can smell it. I
Mm.
can smell the crack right now. When I think about it,
Oh,
when
oh,
I go back there, I can
yes.
you notice, you know what I can smell it
Oh,
and I
yes,
can
yes.
feel it. And I remember, so the way I grew up, we're in the house, and I'm from Philly, so it's row houses, right?
Okay,
So our house, the house we were in, go up the steps, two bedrooms, and they're
okay,
connected with a door in between. And
okay.
I'm I'm 9, 10, and I'm in the room, supposed to be going to bed, getting ready for school, but there's nonstop traffic in and out all night. And the things I had to hear through
Mm,
that door, and then and then the expectation was to get up, go to school, and be normal and excel.
mhm,
That I wish that on no human being. I wish that on
exactly.
no human being. So I get it. I remember going to the store with the note and
Uh-huh.
having these special instructions to go see and go do and do that. And now,
Wow.
mind you,
Mm,
I'm fourth grade, and the reason that I know it's fourth grade is because the Judy Blume books, Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, I probably read it 1,000 times. That was my escape. I had that book. I took it from school, and I never
uh-huh.
returned it. And I probably read that book 100 times. I would try to lose myself in that book. So I know I was a fourth grader when it got crazy. I'm talking about powers off. Thank God for
Yes.
the neighbors. God bless them right now, wherever they're standing, because they would give me their table scraps so I could eat. No electricity
Wow.
in the house, no hot water, and it was terrible. Now I'm a young man in the hood of North Philly, and
Yeah.
it was rough. And then I'm light, which brought certain attention from other males, so it was nonstop fighting
Mm-hmm.
because of the attention from females. So it was
Uh,
trust. I get it. I get it.
yes.
Now it showed up for me as I got older in some very interesting ways, right? But I want you to share first. Now we're in high school. You're starting to be shaped like a woman. This
Yeah.
attention is coming. The dope boy's paying you
Yeah.
attention. This is happening. That's happening. You're like, what do I do with this? I don't want that. It kind of feels good
Right.
because it's attention, but it makes me a little uncomfortable. Now you're becoming a young woman. You're later on into high school. How are you? Like, what's your? Do you have friends? What's your friend set look like?
So, I didn't have many people I dealt with closely, but that was a choice. That's always
Gotcha,
been me.
gotcha.
Um,
So take me
and
to high school, like the
actually,
later years. Gotcha.
okay, I'll take you to 16. That's when I was ready to commit suicide. So at 16, so I joined the church at 15. Didn't have adults going to church or anything. It was just some type of pulling on my
Hmm.
spirit. And so I joined the church and I started taking my sister, my brother, but also some of my younger cousins. So it's me and a bunch of other kids. And then you got people in the church criticizing because of your clothes and all of that stuff. Or like I said, pitying you, but not
Hmm.
really helping. Like I don't need your
Right.
pity. And even as a young person, I'll say a teen, I was kind of aware of that. Like, look, I don't need
Right.
you to pity me. Or people saying, why are you wearing pants? I say, that's all I have
Right.
and I'm going to show up.
Hmm.
So I think honestly, the circumstances and even my mother, because there's a lot of good things I can say about my mother.
Absolutely.
I think that kind of started bringing me out of my shyness because I was kind of like I don't care anymore. So it was like
Mm.
whatever. So I kept showing up to church, and that was my saving grace. At 16, I went in a closet. This is a true story. This is the story I told in my 30s to my children and my students because I felt they needed it. So I go in a closet and I said, I'm not coming out of this closet until I get an answer. So I prayed and prayed and prayed, probably 2 or 3 hours, literally. And I kept saying, God, please. Like, I don't want to see my mother standing on a chair saying there's mice on her legs. I'm sick of that. I don't want to see my beautiful mother looking like this anymore. And I don't want bad grades because somewhere in me, like I know I'm smart. So
Right.
I'm like, come on, if you are God, what are you going to do with this? So I kept praying that and I got defiant. Never have I ever been disrespectful to God or really adults or whatever, but I was
Hmm.
so fed up. I said, if you are God, you better show me something because I promise you, when I come out of this closet, I'm going to find a way to get it done. Right. And I hear a voice, get your education. And I got angry. I said, what does that have to do with crack? What does that have to do with no food? What does that? I was so upset, but I said, okay, let me pray some more. Baby, you don't hear what I'm
Right.
saying.
Right. Right. Right.
By the third time I heard, I honest to God, I heard the voice 3 times. Third time, I said, you know what? I'm gonna do what you said. But if it doesn't work, I'm killing myself. I said, I'm done with this. I get out of the closet, go back to my regular day. It may be like a week or something later. My father picked us up. We're in a store. I see this little thing, but it's glass, so it opens up like this.
Okay.
It's the Serenity Prayer. Accept the things you cannot change. And I said, that's for me. I can't change
Wow.
crack. I can't change my neighborhood. I can't. So I said, okay, just work on what you can. So I go to school. I asked every single teacher, I said, listen, I don't want to tell them my mom is on crack. So I said, my
Right.
mom is sick. So you know I'm not in school that much. Reese, from fifth grade or maybe even fourth on up, I missed 45 days or more of school, period. Even when I was on the honor roll. Right, right. And I said, okay, but if I do the work, will you allow me to turn it in and still pass? Because 16 absences, they can just fail me. Every teacher said yes. So
Now
after
this
that,
is you just taking responsibility. This,
period,
okay, okay. I love that.
period.
I love that. Okay.
I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do what he said. So I got busy. I made sure every assignment would be completed. And I had a different approach. I came in instead of waiting on my mom. I said, Mom, I did my chores. What else do you need? Like if she go to the store, go do that. I want to get it out of the way. And then I got in my books. It wasn't about my
Wow.
boyfriend, none of that. Let me get this
Hmm.
done. So I did it. And it's crazy. I'm gonna just tell you, my brother and sister have now said, Stacey, I remember when you used to be laying in your books on the table. Now, mind you, if I'm 16, my sister's 11. My brother is like
Wow.
three. So, so I'm going, I said, how can you remember that? He said, I just would see you sleeping in your book. I didn't know why. I said, you got
Wow.
it. That's why people are looking at you and you don't even know it. But
Exactly.
anyway,
Hmm.
about a year later, I'm winning trophies and everything. And that's why I show them to my students. I said, when I was little, I won everything. But that didn't mean as much as this here. I said, because
Right.
this is my proof,
Hmm.
right? I said, God is real. God is real. He told me get it done. And when I tell you, it didn't matter what grade you were in. It didn't matter if you were the top student. I beat everybody in every single thing. Literally, I have first place trophies in everything I touched,
What I'm
including
talking
sports.
about. I love it. I love it. So let's bring it forward a little bit. I just want to say tough, tough, tough home life,
Mm-hmm.
far too many responsibilities, these thoughts, these feelings, the normal quote unquote transformation of forming into a young lady and everything that
Mm-hmm.
comes with that, you know, the missing of the school, those things you had to see and hear experiencing with your mother, the people in the street, the younger siblings you had to be responsible for, all of that. Then you gather up the crew and go to church. So you always had those motherly leadership instincts, right? You do that on your own. No adult dragged you. You led the way, did that, developed your own experience with God. Because if you go in the closet and pray, you know God for yourself. Um,
mhm.
had an experience, saw something, the Serenity Prayer jumped out at you, and boom, it was like the lead domino. You said, "Oh, I got this. I can't control this, but I
Yes.
can control this." So
Uh-huh.
so this is your bounce back, right? From all of these things, it could have been you could have easily quit. You could have
Yes.
easily allowed yourself to be sucked in with all of that male attention and
Yes.
went into a whole different lifestyle. You could have retreated to the streets and a different life. Instead, you
Yes.
retreated to church and God and became and found your spirituality. So
Yes.
all of this as a team. And
Mhm.
had you gone down a different path, people would have understood
Oh,
given
yeah.
your circumstances, but you
Oh,
rose
yeah.
above your circumstances. You didn't allow your circumstances to define you. You spoke
For
to your
sure.
circumstances and you transformed your life in spite
Mhm.
of and because of
Oh,
that
yeah.
adversity that you went through. And so
Mhm.
now, fast forward, you start excelling, you start getting the trophy. So you started off a great student, went through a rocky patch, got back on track, knocked it out the
Mhm.
park, falling asleep in the books,
Right.
just doing your thing. Now,
Right.
now fast forward to because that's I mean, God, that's plenty, right? That as
Mhm.
far as the childhood. Now, fast forward, you're in the school system, you're doing your thing, and now, take us through some some of the tests and trials of adulthood, right?
Adulthood.
That took from you that you had to bounce back from, or you need to bounce back from. So
Okay.
fast forward a bit, and you know what I mean, and because that's just a beautiful, beautiful story. We could stop right there, but I want to go into adulthood because
Okay.
I'm sure you've had to fight some more.
Yeah. So I would say I joined the military after
Ah,
school. Wasn't going to do that. It's just that we didn't have any money. So I said, okay, you know what? I did that. And of course, I saw on your timeline you were in the military too.
hmm,
So you already know that came with its troubles. Um, but after so I'll say I had did two tours, and finally my sister would call me about our mother saying that she's sick again. She
yeah,
doesn't know what's wrong, yada yada. She thought it was just pills and the usual. But I said, let me come visit. I came on a
okay,
visit, saw that my mother had a lump, and I said, I'm getting out. So I didn't re-enlist, even though I wanted to. I get
okay.
home. We end up finding out she has cancer again. So I had to make a decision. I decided to stay, see her through it. My mom passed within 8 months, but I was so glad to be home for it. I'm
Hmm,
thinking I don't have kids yet. I'm 24 when she died. I can go
okay,
back. But my brother asked me to take care of him, so I did.
hmm,
So that's how I ended up home. I go to the post office just for a job because we're still in the projects at this time.
okay,
And we were working too many hours and whatnot. I decide, you know what, I need a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and that's it. I go to a school, and that's how I ended up falling in love with the students. I'm like, this is what I need to do. So I go back
gotcha.
to school. Okay, then I marry my now ex-husband. I
Hmm.
marry him. I'm gonna take a breath right there.
Take a breath. I need one myself. Take a breath.
Yeah.
Take a breath. I get it. It's quite all right. So let me just you have some challenges with mom, and it's
Mm-hmm.
it's eerie how s- similar this situation is.
Uh-huh.
Lost my mom to the street slash cancer as well. Just it's eerie, and we'll talk more. It's
Okay.
crazy. So,
Okay.
um, but again, I'm by myself. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean? Trying to figure it out versus where you had siblings that you had to actually step up and be responsible for. So that's extra weight that way. But anyway, so you go through that. You're away. You're in the military. Everything that comes with that, and then
Yeah.
you come home. You come out. You don't reenlist. You help out with the family. Help out with mom. God calls her
Yeah.
home after 8 months. Then
Mhm.
you're like, okay, I need to get back to my life. Your little
Yeah.
brother's like, ma'am. So
Right.
you step up to the plate, you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean, and step in as his caregiver, which I applaud you for. And then you're just figuring it out. You're working, and then you said you went up to a school, so you got a job at the school, and then you were with a gentleman, and you got married, and then okay. Okay, I'm with you.
So at this time, my sister
How old are
had,
you? How old are you? I want to just make sure we're understanding.
we got together when I was 27.
Okay.
Me
Okay.
and him. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I got home at 23, mom died at 24. And so got with him at 27.
Okay.
My sister had still been back and forth with me. She was with her now husband, but boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
move out, come back, So I'm still, she's a dropout, pregnant, and I'm trying to also tell her, go back to school. Because
Right.
remember that get education, go back to school,
Right.
whatever. And I tutored her in the math. She got her GED and eventually became a nurse. So I'm thinking,
Nice.
okay, life pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Me and my ex-husband, we get together, and he has a child with another young lady from when he was 18.
Mm-hmm.
When I tell you, so I'll go with at some point he gets incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
So he, there was a point where we were having money problems,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know for sure if he was in the streets, but I'm seeing some things, and I'm like, look, risk versus reward. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't
Mm-hmm.
look, I don't know what you're doing, bruh, but
Right.
it ain't worth, And I'm talking to him, and he like, look, Stacey, I can't keep seeing us struggle, blah blah blah. So it's like he's gonna go to what he knows, and I'm just like, I'm just not about that life or whatever.
Right.
But so he catches that case, and he ends up, by the grace of God, getting 5 years. He really got 10 to 30. So he did 5 years. So that's one adversity, because now I have three children, technically four, because my brother,
Right.
by myself, he's in the UP. So the whole time I'm traveling 5 hours, mind you, money problems didn't go anywhere.
Right.
So what you tried to prevent, you made worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking care of him, taking care of them. In addition, I have some health problems.
Mm-hmm.
Through the years, they've gotten worse because I'm going to
Okay.
doctors constantly and I'm telling these symptoms. And it's just like, either they're putting band-aids on it or they're flat out ignoring it. And I'm getting worse. I'm gaining weight, and it's crazy, but I'm getting really dark here all the way up. And I'm
Jesus.
like, what's up? Then I'm starting to have headaches. And since '06, I've had headaches till now, period.
Oh my
Every day. And I
goodness.
know people, they were like, it's hard to believe. You smile too much. You have energy. You this. I said, and see, and that's why I don't really share it. I'm like, no, I
Right.
have headaches every day. And
Goodness.
so that's an adversity right there. I'm like, just
Big
being
time.
sick. Yeah. And at a point, I didn't want to give up like when I was young, but I felt like giving in, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm just tired. You know what I'm saying? But he comes home,
Man.
and of course, there's problems with that. We got money problems still. But by
Mm-hmm.
then, I earned my bachelor degree.
Okay.
Something, we're doing better, whatever. And that was hard. So let me point that out. I just kind of skated over that. But I'm doing this with all these children. And at
Right.
the same time, I have students who are struggling. So I'm dropping my children off. And because of their ages, I'm dropping them in different places. I leave
Mm-hmm.
that, I go to get this student, because you're not dropping out of school on my watch.
Right.
Boom, bring them to school. Then I got students there talking about suicide. Nope, we're not doing that. Boom, right? So all of that, and my brother's problems are showing up, because remember, he's born with impediments.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and we're not having that either. I'm like, we're not giving up on anything. We're not shortchanging ourselves.
That's right.
So it's been about push, really my whole life.
Your entire life. I want to highlight something that you said because it's vitally important, and it's a big part of what this whole movement about
Okay.
bouncing back is about,
Yes.
right? You said what he tried to prevent made the
Hmm.
situation worse.
Yes.
So oftentimes, especially when we go through things, right?
Hmm.
you and I been through a lot, right? Clearly, you've been through a lot, and of course, this is just the cliff notes. You know what I
Right.
mean? Um, but what happens is people get into avoidance behaviors, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, what he did, he took an action to try to solve a problem, but
Mm-hmm.
it got him in some trouble. I get it. But I want to talk about those people who life kicks their butt, and now instead of they become discouraged, and they
Yeah.
feel like, well, if I just hide under this table,
Mm-hmm.
then life won't beat me up anymore. If I don't raise my hand, if I don't try anything, if I don't show up, if I don't throw my hat in the ring, if I don't get on the field, then I'll be
Right.
okay. But what they don't realize is that makes the situation worse because
First.
life gonna come up under that table and get you. Life,
Better
you cannot avoid it. So life
not.
is not about, if that's where you are, life is not about avoidance. Life is about developing the tools,
Right.
right,
Right.
to deal with the adversity when, not if, when it shows up. When life punches you in the face,
Mm-hmm.
we want to prepare and equip ourselves so that we know what to do. We want to have a go-getter, a growth mindset. We want to be able to deal with things as they come and use those things as fuel to make us better, right? So all of these things that were coming at you, you went through what you went through, but ultimately you put them in the gas tank and you
Mm-hmm.
use those things to push yourself
Like
forward,
that.
right? You
Okay.
use
Okay.
those things I say that all the time. I say, listen, the stuff I went through is rocket fuel.
That's
That's
right.
sending
That's
me to
right.
the moon. And so,
Yes.
but that's a mindset thing. And that's what this is about. This is not about quitting. This is not about highlighting all the things we went through so we can go to as an excuse not to excel. No,
Right. Right.
we're saying we've been through some things, but we're
Mm-hmm.
fighting and we're pushing forward. And in spite of what I went through, and because of what I went through,
Yeah.
I'm
Uh-huh.
going forward. And here's something you and I have in common. When little tests and trials show up,
Mm-hmm.
I can glance back like, I done survived all that. This is but a light thing. this
Come
is
on.
this, this is it. This is the worst
Come
thing
on,
that's happening
coach.
today. Oh
Mm-hmm.
shoot! Like let's do it. Like this is
Right.
it. Because
Right.
if I glance back, if I look in that mirror, like, whoo, those fires, that carnage back there that I survived, and
Woo!
he kept me through all of that.
Uh-huh.
Ooh. So
Come
we're not in it. We're not in the business of avoidance, right? We're in the
for sure.
business of standing and fighting and equipping ourselves to
Yes.
fight and using that adversity as rocket fuel. So when you
Yeah.
said that, it hit me because I'm like, yes, that's it. And a lot of
Yeah.
people do that. A lot of people do that. So you're going through these tests and trials and challenges, and yes, you have a lovely smile in spite of the headache. You keep that. You don't ever lose that. So you're going through these changes. He comes home, things are going on. All the while, you're making it happen.
Yeah.
Drop this one off, drop this one off, pick this one up, drop this one off, do this, busy, busy,
Yep.
busy, and
Mm-hmm.
getting your education. And you grinding, you're hustling. He comes
Mm-hmm.
home, there's still challenges going on. Now he comes home, now he's a felon, and trust, I can speak to that as well. I know what
Okay.
that's like. I'm on paper now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm more skilled than everybody in here, but y'all can't hire me. The
Right.
frustration that comes with that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
kind of quickly, how did that play itself out? You know what I mean? Just kind of quickly kind of go through that because I'm sure that brought a new set of challenges for you, some more things that you had to rumble through.
So I'm gonna try to be as quick as I can with it.
Yeah, we're not in a
Well,
rush. We're not in a rush because
no,
this is
that's
life
fine.
changing. We're working. We're
Yeah.
doing work. I said
Okay.
quickly, but this
I
floor is
got you.
yours.
I hear you. I hear you. So I'll say it took a minute, but he did get a job, then a better one. Then eventually, one of the jobs he was in, he started because he's actually a smart guy. He's very intelligent. So he started getting trainings and things like that. In his mind, well, I can't go to college because they don't accept financial aid. And I said, no, that's not true. I'm
Hmm.
like, you just need to dig, but whatever.
Hmm.
So he got
Hmm.
training at the job he was in. He said, I'll just try to excel at that. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
He became supervisor and all kinds of stuff with that. and eventually even got in school and got his associate degree. So, but ultimately, our fall was infidelity.
Hmm.
And it's not that there weren't other things, because
I
there
understand.
were. I just feel I could have worked through the other things, but with everything together, because I want to point out he lost his mother and father while I'm with him, and his mother, I was very close to her, and so losing my mother back then and finally having a grandmother for my children,
Right.
and then losing her, that was another adversity because I lost her and then he went to prison the next year. So, all of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
But so he was working, doing good or whatever. And then once the infidelity, I was like, I can't take any more of that.
Hmm.
It was what was bad at the time. I actually got a new position, and made more money. I had even gotten my master's degree by then.
Hmm.
However, I'm just like, look, I can't do this. Like, I've done a lot being with you. I've been loyal, but I'm like, I can't take it. But I calculated my bills and everything over and over. I thought of different scenarios. And at the end of the day, I said, I gotta go. And I left knowing that I would have to file bankruptcy, which sucked because I pay my bills on time. It's been 20 something years. So that hurt to have to
Hmm.
do that, but I knew I would have to do it. So it was a sacrifice. What are you going to do? Stay and deal with this or
Right.
go ahead? So I left.
Do me a
And
favor. Do me a
mhm,
favor, right? Because that's enough. That's important. That's gonna help. This is gonna help someone. Speak to
okay.
that. You're in this situation. You're married. You have these years in. You have all of this invested, and you went through a process. You did some math, evaluated some things, and you
Mhm,
reached in there somewhere and had the courage, right? And the not only is it courage, you valued yourself. You saw yourself worthy of making that move. Kind of what does
mhm.
that look and feel like? Or how we put it like this: what do you say to the young lady in that situation who is on the fence, who is looking more at, what they've accumulated and what they've been through, and you know what I mean, who's kind of
Oh, yeah.
stuck in that, who needs the courage to move forward? What do you say to her?
Well, I've actually coached, my
Hmm.
coaching business is one decision, one step. So I've coached women, and there was one woman I'll tell you.
Hmm.
She allowed me to use her story, but she was struggling to the point that when we talked, like it was starting to depress me. I was like, God, dog. And I said,
Right.
listen, after so long, and she still recalls this because we laugh about it. I
Hmm.
said, listen, I will not talk to you another time without some action steps. Like, that's it. I've listened, I've offered suggestions, yada, yada. Now, she loves to write. So at some point, I said, she was like, when I'm in the car and things are coming to me, I can't write. I said, well, record it. So
Hmm.
I told her, I said, I'm going to give you 1 week. I'm not talking to you. Because she was talking to me every day. 1
Right.
week. I'll talk to you in a week. And so I said, but when I call you, you get 1 hour, and that is all. You need to
Hmm.
tell me what you're going to do. When I called her, first thing out of her mouth was, I don't need an hour. I said, you better come on in. I said, come on in. What's up? And she
Yes.
told me, she said, listen, you've done too much for me to not come up with an answer. She said, because when you said it, I was like, she was deflated. Like, what do you mean?
Right.
How can I do it? And she said, she listened to those tapes. She said, and I was like, how did you listen to me?
I love it. I love it.
Like, okay, so you see, sometimes we really don't see ourselves.
Of
You
course.
don't see how you sound, how you look. You don't see it. And so she said, you know what? Because I said, this ain't about your husband or your children.
Hmm.
If you're clear, you'll make the right decision. And
Hmm.
that's what I talk to people about. I never tell anybody to leave. And I
Hmm.
would have to be like getting beaten, something
Of
like
course.
that. Other than
Hmm.
that, that's your choice.
Right.
But what I tell you to do is work on you. Get real clear about what you want in your life, what's your
Hmm.
vision, what you're worth, and what you will or will not deal with. So it's
Hmm.
like you have to make a list. You know,
Right.
this is non-negotiable. And if
Exactly.
you're not getting those things on that list, it's listen, Tina Turner said, what's love got to do with it?
Very,
I love
very
you,
true. Right.
but and
Yeah.
so that's what I had to go through. I'm making all these lists. I'm reevaluating my money. If we move, blah, blah. I said, you know what? The same God that took me out of that closet is going to get me through this. So, you know what? I'm out. And literally, he walked in the door and I said, the next time you tell a girl that we're not together, you will not be lying. I said, I am out of here. And by the grace of God, the next month I had a place and we moved. So,
Listen. Your courage is like I applaud you for your courage, right, and your strength that you unfortunately, but fortunately,
right.
had to develop at such a young age, right? Um, there were some things that were deposited in you that
Mhm.
life had to bring out, right?
Right.
There's a quote, I don't recall who said it, but it says adversity introduces a man to himself.
Yes.
Adversity introduced you to you. And it
Mhm.
showed you what you had inside of you. And had you not gone through those experiences, you would not know how strong you are. You would not have the tools that you have. You would not be doing the life changing work that you're doing. Your heart would not be as huge and open as it is had you
Uh-huh.
not gone through this adversity. Had it been all sunshine and rainbows and unicorns,
Uh-huh.
you would not, you'd be somewhere, you'd be thriving because you're intelligent and you're strong, but you,
Right.
that your heart and your passion and war keys, the lives that are going to be, that have been and are going to be impacted through your work
Mhm.
and through your story, countless
Mhm.
lives. And you know how that works. You can impact that student who can go home and impact his siblings and parents and change a
Mhm.
whole family tree because
Mhm.
you poured into that student and you understand how valuable and vital that is. And I applaud you for that. I applaud you for sharing just some pieces of your story
Yeah.
because a lot of us, a lot of people have given up. I mean,
Right.
you know this better. A lot of people have quit and they're pretending like they haven't quit, right? They're kind of
Mhm.
going through the motions and they
Mhm.
want to jump in, but and so they're just like, let me just stay right here under the
Right.
radar. I
Mhm.
want to be seen, but I don't want to be seen. I don't want to, I know the answer, but I'm not going to raise my hand. And
Right.
they're
Right. Right.
struggling. And when we
Right.
share our stories, you know what I mean? When we hear the things that you share, when we hear you, how much you stood up for yourself and what you said was beautiful because I'm all about your relationship with you. That's all I
Mhm.
talk about. When my relationship
Mhm.
with me is healthy, my
Mhm.
relationships are healthy. My focus is on point. My decisions are healthy. Like I move differently. But
Absolutely.
when I was struggling with my relationship with me, it impacted everything. You know
Yes.
what I say, and I want you to comment on this.
Okay.
When your relationship with you is unhealthy, your vision and your hearing are impaired. Can't
Oh.
see or
Oh.
hear. You can't, your vision and your hearing are impaired, but then when your relationship with you becomes healthy, you're like a superhero. You have heightened senses. I love
Oh.
me, so now I can see opportunities. Now I can hear what God is saying. I can hear what I need to do and how I need to move. When I don't love me, I, but when I love
Oh.
me, what do you think about that? I live by that. I got chills right now. I live by that.
I know. I was like, okay, you did something with that. I should have wrote some notes off that one. I'm gonna
Listen.
tell you, man. Like I'm serious. That did something. Like I'll see someone, and I have someone in mind when I'm saying it. Nice
Mhm,
looking. It's a female.
mhm.
Nice looking and all this other stuff. But you can tell me what you want about you, but I can see in your actions where you're really at. And
Absolutely.
so, like what you just said about loving yourself, some people will say, you know what? I love myself. I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna risk that, and blah blah blah. No, 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 you don't have to do that. Because once you're at a certain level with yourself, you can trust yourself enough. Now I don't need
Yes.
to trust you. I need to trust myself enough that if I see something happening that's not
Come
right,
on.
I know
Hmm.
how to get up out of it. See,
Yes,
and that's what I've
yes.
learned. I know how to get out of that. So I'm not afraid. Like some people, even with you've been married or even in a long relationship and now you're dating, you might have somebody great in front of you. But it's like, nah, why? Because you're still seeing this other person and this and that. What you're really seeing is your shortcomings, fears, and no, listen, I'm good.
Yes.
Listen,
Your
this got
vision
your
is
number.
impaired. Yes, I
It
can't
isn't
see
fair.
clearly. And everything you say, I'm running it through the filter of what Johnny had did and had said and what the last 16 people had did and everything. And again, everything is impaired. The more
That's
you
it.
learn to love you, the more you develop that relationship with you. Like you say, I love, we got to touch that.
Okay.
You don't, you have to learn to trust you. Your
Okay.
self-trust is the
Yes.
thing. When you said that, I'm like, that's exactly it. So I trust
Mhm.
me. I trust my decision making. I trust my focus. I trust, my self-respect. I trust me. And so
Yeah.
everything else is bonus, is extra. But I'm
Okay.
developing my relationship with me. And
Yeah.
if you're on point, if you're solid, then great. Then we rock and roll. But
Right.
I know how much time and energy I invest in my growth and in my healing
Yes.
to get to the point where I'm finally able to trust myself. It's a
Mhm.
process. It is
It is.
it's a process. And when you
Yes.
get it, it's one of those things I will fight tooth and nail. I will
To
listen.
keep
I will risk it.
Hey.
Listen, because I've never experienced a peace like this. I've never experienced this self trust. I've never experienced this. You know what I mean? It's like one
Mhm.
fight after a fight after a fight after a
Oh
fight. It's always some
my God.
sort of adversity. It's always some sort of big test. And then you know
Mhm.
what I said? And we're similar in this, right?
Mhm.
When we we could have read the book and learned this stuff, but God said, nah, you go on through all that.
Right, right,
I'm gonna give you. Some people read the books, right?
right.
Some people read the books, learned the lessons, and they can go forward. Now, he done put me, and now I know you through all the stuff,
Mhm.
and we done turned around and read the books. So
Mhm.
some of us, we just have to go through those things. Let me tell you, I was
We
going
do.
through a dark, dark situation with my ex, and I was in a painful place.
Oh
And I
yeah.
was sitting there, and I was like making sure my phone was working because it wasn't ringing or vibrating.
Right.
No one was checking. I was like, "Well, is my phone? I paid my bill. Is this thing working? Let me turn it off and turn it back on. Make sure it's good because no one's checking on me. What's
Oh
going
my
on?"
God.
And that voice that told you to get your education told me, what would you tell someone in your situation?
You better.
I
You
said,
better.
that's what we
Yeah.
gonna do? And
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
like,
talking to
okay,
you, Reed.
let me
Mhm.
take myself out of it. What would I
Yep.
tell somebody? And it came, boom. I would tell them to do this. I would tell them, I said, well, that's what we gonna do then. And I
Then
had to
that's what
pull, I
we
had
do.
to pull my, and what I learned was that's a gift that I had. I literally I can kind of pull myself out and like see me and see a
Yes.
situation. And I'm like, okay, I thought it was a punishment, but you were gifting me something. And now lives are being changed because of
Yes.
that, because of the adversity that I experienced, because of the adversity that you went through, lives are
Mhm.
being changed.
Mhm.
Literally, families are being blessed, children are being healed, healing is taking place. God's will is being done in this earth because of all that pain you had to experience. And
For
in your
sure.
case, you're still going through some things physically,
For
right?
sure.
But yet you stand, you keep grinding, you keep smiling, you keep pressing forward. You haven't
Yes.
become selfish. You could
Mhm.
become selfish at this point and say, "Look, I got to take care of me." But your
Mhm.
heart is still bleeding for people. So
Mhm.
God's going to heal those headaches, and we don't know what they're for, but
Right.
you're alert and you're paying attention, and you'll know what that was all about, you know.
Mhm.
And listen, just know that if you were a little unclear, and I don't think you were, but just know your life, you're here for a reason. You have purpose, and God called you to bring healing, right?
Mhm.
To to a population that some people have written off. right?
That's right.
That some people don't want to deal with. And you're
That's
willing,
right.
and not only you don't want to just write a check. You like this. Let's roll these sleeves up. Let me get in here and get in the
For sure.
trenches. And
Get it done.
that I applaud you. I hope and pray that you get a call from someone who has a lot of commas in their bank account and says, I want to just fund War Keys. Tell me what you want to do. So make sure your
Right, right.
business plan, make sure
Yeah.
everything is in order, because when that
Okay.
call comes, when that person
You wanna be
reaches
ready.
out, you don't want to be fumbling trying to figure it out. You want to
Right.
say, "Oh, yeah, what we need is $750 a year. That'll pay for the staff and that'll pay for everything we want to do."
Yeah.
Duh, 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 duh. You want to have it ready because it's coming. It's coming
That's
because you've
money.
been through too much and your heart is right. Your motives are pure. What were you going to say?
Oh,
Whew,
no. First, thank you, God, dog,
welcome.
Reese.
You're
You know,
welcome.
I loved you before, but I didn't know you could add to the love now. But and I'm serious though. I'm not trying to be
Trust
funny.
me. I
I'm
feel your
so serious.
energy. Trust me. I feel
Yeah.
your energy.
Well, it's funny you say that. I went to an event where Oprah, Iyanla, and a bunch of people were, and I remember I was getting tickets for the front, but everybody couldn't afford that. So I said, okay, we're all gonna sit together, and we were back here. She went to this lady in the front, and she saw a bunch of the shirts. She said, "Oh, what do you guys do?" The lady told her, the name or whatever. She said, "Okay, but what are you about?" She was fumbling. Oprah said, "You know what? I was going to give you some money." She said, "But you got to get it together." I said, "Oh, all right, Stacey, get it together because I don't ever like Eric Thomas always say, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready."
That's
So I'm
right.
like, I'm working on being ready. And yeah, some things have knocked me down, but like you said, I'm not going to stay down. I'm going to bounce back, like
That's
Coach
right.
said.
That's
Okay, I'm going to
right.
bounce back. So, I'm working on things. And another thing I just want to say off what you said about some people read the book, some of us have to go through it. And some of us go through it so we can write the books.
Bing,
So I
bing,
just
bing,
wanted
bing,
to put
bing.
that out. We're writing the
Yes.
book.
Yes,
So
that's it.
yeah.
I love that.
Hmm.
I love, 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 love that. And I live by that. I get it. So when things
Yeah.
happen, it's like, it's like the scripture that talks about, rejoice when troubles
Hmm.
come, because
Ooh.
you're being groomed, you're growing, you're becoming a better version of you. And so when troubles come, what most people do is you have let's say your tools are in the backpack. Trouble knocks on the door, you drop the backpack and run out the back door. And it's like,
Hmm.
no, you have the tools. Use your tools. This showed up as an opportunity to help
I
you
like
grow, to
that's right.
put those things to use, or to help sharpen you in a particular area, right? So everything that shows up, every time an attack comes, I interpret it as, oh, okay, I need to sharpen up over here.
Hmm.
Not woe is me, because I believe life is happening for me and not to me, because I
Hmm.
know I'm called. I know, I understand my purpose. So if something is coming my way, it's for me to process through it so that I
That's
can
right.
write the book
That's
and
right.
help impact someone else who is not strong enough to go through it. Some of the things
Hmm.
you went through, you went in the closet and you prayed. Somebody else went straight to the pills, or the gun, or the situation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Some of the things I have gone through. Listen, I got some friends who ain't right now, or who are
Hmm.
still running the streets, or who are still stuck, or who just, whew, I mean, life just kicked their behind. But we went through the same stuff,
Yeah.
right? And so that's how I know I'm blessed. And then I'm still hungry to help and to serve, right? Like you, it's not like I could get selfish. I
Hmm.
can get selfish, but it's not
Hmm.
about me. I still want to
That's right.
serve. I want to help impact lives. I want to change lives. I want to change the world through
Yes.
impacting people, because of and in spite of my experiences. And
Hmm.
listen, you have that same energy. Keep it there. And you saw it, right? Had
Uh-huh.
that person, listen, if you, when that opportunity shows up and you say, oh, boom, 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 somebody's like, oh, get her, check. Get,
Right. Right.
because why
Right.
not?
Why
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 not?
not? Why
But if
not?
you're fumbling, well, maybe next time. And when is there gonna be a next time when Oprah says, "Oh, nice, what do you do?" Like that's a once in a life.
Come on now. Come on now.
So
Yeah.
that was for you. That
Yeah.
lady
Yeah.
fumbled for you, so you can
Absolutely.
learn your lesson and have your stuff in order. And I believe it's coming. because you have not experienced and survived and bounced back from all of those things for no reason. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
So listen, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I so appreciate this. I cannot wait to watch this back and gather some more information from this. I appreciate you. Any parting words for anyone? Um, and also, where do we find you? Social media, website, all that good stuff. And I'll put it in the notes and stuff when we put it out there. But just anything you want to share with the folks before we break.
To find me, like you said, you'll put it in there. I'm War Keys on everything. Except on Instagram it's War underscore keys. But I would just say to be real. So that's one of the first things. Some people, honestly, you want to present the problem as something else, make it look good, make it cute. No, go ahead and identify the problem, because if you do not, then what you're going to be fixing will not be the problem. It'll be something else. So start with that, and two, we'll say be okay with saying no. Practice it one no at a time, because if it protects your energy or your goals or what you're doing, sometimes you have to tell people no. It doesn't matter who it is, you know. And sometimes you got to cut people, and you don't have to cut them deep, but you got to cut them,
Hmm.
So protect yourself. That's just the start. Start
I love it.
there.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Listen, when you said that, I was over here throwing my neck back and all of that because whenever anyone asks me, where do I start? I
Hmm.
say two things. I
Hmm.
say, first thing you need to do is practice keeping your word to yourself.
Hmm.
That it just we don't people don't realize how powerful that is. If you say you're going to drink water, drink the water. If you say you're going to
Hmm.
walk around the block, do it. That's how you start to build up your self-esteem. But as far as growth and transformation, the exact same thing you just said, I say you have to start with an honest, a brutally
Hmm.
honest self-assessment, because
That's
too
it.
many people are lying saying they're at level 7 when they're really
Hmm.
at level 4. And now you tell me you're a 7, I'm giving you information that's going to get you from 7 to 8, but you need information to get you from 4 to 5. And now you're frustrated and stuck, and you're in the wrong class. You didn't take the prerequisites for this course that I'm giving you.
Come on
And
now.
I say it, and that's why I'm like, this, you are on it.
That's crazy. And that's funny because I tell people you're stuck in chapter 4. And God keep giving you chapter 4 because you ain't learned nothing. I'm like, I ain't giving you chapter 5, 6, and 7. Learn what's in chapter 4. And I'm like,
Exactly.
so even my own, my daughter, I'm like, look, baby, it might look different, but it's the same chapter I'm seeing you living over and over. Get out of that
Hmm.
chapter. I can't take you out of there. I gave you the tools, like you said. Stop
Right.
dropping the book bag. Time to use it. So start with being real about what it is, and
I
then,
love
as
it.
I say, one decision, one step. That's
That's it.
how we
I love it. I love it, 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 love it. I appreciate you so much.